Greetings and peace. I hope you and yours are doing well today, wherever you might be watching this from. Now, the title of today's presentation will be The Teachings of the Lakota Indigenous Peoples and Their Comparison to Masonic Teachings. As a Freemason and as a Sufi Muslim, I always found fascination with how, like, each culture, tradition, faith, religion, any spiritual path, indigenous, anything you name it, has always taught us the oneness of the Great Spirit, as our indigenous brothers and sisters teach us also. And ever since I got my DNA test, which told me that I was connected to the Alaskan Siberian natives, the Kennewick Man DNA here in America, and also with the Australian Aboriginals, I was always fascinated with indigenous culture and how we're all connected and we're all part of this one race, one faith, under the umbrella of different interpretations. And the Lakota were those that stood out to me. And I want to take the opportunity to show the world who these beautiful people are and their teachings and what we can learn from them in today's divisive society. So thank you for joining me as always, and I hope you're able to take something away from it. On the right-hand side, we see the flag of the Lakota. And the red basically represents the sacrifice of their people. And the color red basically being the red men, per se. And basically shows what sacrifices and hardships they had to deal with from 1492, even before that up until this very day. What they had to endure to ensure the survival of their people and culture and traditions to this very day in a society that gave them no human values. But what we can learn from them is never lose your faith in the Great Spirit and the plan that it has for you. What we learn as Freemasons as well, never lose your faith in God, and to know that whatever is destined for you, whatever is written for you, through the hardships and trials, through the black and white tiles, you have good days, bad days, good days, but ultimately you will become the person that you are meant to. And that's what the similar aspect that I was found through the Lakota teachings, including their flag, is that always have faith for the greater plan that the Great Spirit has for you, not focusing on the current phase that you might be going through, whether good or bad, but ultimately having faith in the greater plan and having faith in yourself, in your family, in your loved ones, in your tribe, knowing that we will live to see another day. Somehow, some way, our energy and our people and our teachings will always exist in some way, shape, or form. On the left-hand side, we see where the Lakota are actually located, and they're part of excuse me if I'm mispronouncing this, the Sioux tribes from North and South Dakota. That's where they're primarily located, and there are the original First Nations people. And also what they have is, in terms of their faith, some follow Christianity, some follow their traditional native cultures and spiritual paths, including a lot of the sweat lodges that are in these areas. A dear friend of mine, he had brought me a souvenir back from North Dakota from one of the sweat lodges and doing the sun dance. And I was always fascinated on how one would purify him or herself of all the impurities of this world and society in order to connect to the Great Spirit, where we see existing all around us in whatever way, shape, or form it portrays itself, and how the Lakota respect Mother Earth so much. And we learn from their teachings that the earth is female and we are her children, and as her caretakers we have to leave this world in a better condition than we found it in. And that's what we can learn, and that's what we as Freemasons do as well. Uplift the fallen state of mankind, be a good man, do good unto all, and always have faith in the greater plan of the Great Spirit, or the grand architect of the universe, you can say. And to know that we have this responsibility as children of this Mother Earth that a lot of native traditions describe, to know that what is it in life really that we're striving for? Money, relationships, degrees, titles. We have that today, but we can go to sleep and lose all of it in the morning. But what will you carry with you is what good did you do for yourself and others? What good did you do for your path, for your faith, for your neighbor, for your spouse, for your children, for your Mother Earth? All of that counts. And that's what we can learn from our brothers and sisters of the Lakota tribe. Here we have the 12 Lakota virtues that I would like to go over. Please excuse me if I mispronounce any of the native pronunciations, but I will try my best. You have number 1, Unsi Yapi, humility. To always be humble in all that you do. Most of the times we let titles and degrees get to our head, thinking that we're above somebody or somebody's below us. Even in spiritual paths, you have the aspect of the ego that gets the best of some people. And I always tell people, anything that causes ego or disunity or tells you to look down upon somebody, that is not a path of God. That is not a path of the grand architect of the universe. And that is not a path of the Great Spirit. Whatever faith or religion you interpret, or spiritual or esoteric path, what we learn from our Lakota brothers and sisters is that humility will be your greatest asset and victory for this life and the next. The second one, Wawasintanka, perseverance, is that in good times we're always saying good things and appreciating life, but your character is ultimately tested when trial and error and tribulations come your way. In comparison to the Masonic path also, you have the black and white tiles. Good times, bad times, good times. People remember God in bad times, but in good times nobody calls out to the Great Spirit for help. And ultimately we realize is that diamonds have to go through their pressure too to become who they are and what they are. And ultimately we have to also go through our trials and tribulations, because if we didn't go through the lessons that we learned, we wouldn't be the individuals or a society or a planet that we are today if we didn't learn from our mistakes and realizations. So perseverance, to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and to not give up no matter what, is a great attribute and one to applaud for the survival and the perseverance of the Lakota people, that they still exist today no matter how much adversity was thrown their way. Number 3, Wawuhula, respect. So in the aspect of respect is you get out what you put into it. Same thing with the Freemason. Man can only have what he strives for, and you have to put the work in order to reap the results. It's not going to come to you. And the aspects of all of these different religions that tell you that God will only help you when you help yourself. So the aspect of respect is you have to respect everyone and anything around you. Don't be in a society where if you don't get a benefit out of somebody, you don't give them any respect. Or you have, a male that might give a respect to a female at a certain time to get what he wants from her. Once he satisfied his lust and flesh, then no respect for her. Same with women who are traumatized, maybe from father issues or other issues, and they jump from one man to another, and they give respect to the man while he's able to satisfy her, and then you discard them. So everyone has equal value to them. Give respect to everybody, and ultimately respect yourself. Respect yourself, love yourself, and heal yourself before you can do that for anybody else. And that's what another virtue that we can learn from the Lakota. Number 4, Wayuhunihan, honor. Honor thyself, honor thy planet, honor thy tribe, honor thy brotherhood. Whatever it is that you are endeavoring in, if the aspect of honor is missing, then you are not there to fulfill the purpose that you're meant to be there for. And honor is an aspect that we have to realize, that honoring our traditions and passing them on will ensure their survival. And that's what we see in the Brotherhood and in the Lakota teachings. Number 5, Kantugnage, love. Love is the only reality. I tell people all the time, choose love, not fear. You have the aspect of the television, which has programmed people on how to perceive certain peoples and cultures, especially in America, and they haven't even gotten the chance to sit down and get to know them. I come from an Islamic background, and last 20 years, the TV was telling them to fear and hate Muslims. And before that, it was somebody else. Before that, it was somebody else. Now it's fearing Asians, and attacks against them are on the rise. Why don't we see that we're all one family? And that is why throughout the cycles and throughout the world and throughout the ages, You will see in these different books and spiritual teachings or religious teachings that mankind was wiped out because we had been corrupted beyond repair. It was time and time, 6, 7 cycles, something like this had happened. So why do we keep going through that? Why don't we love one another and respect one another? And we need that. What the Lakota are teaching us, we need it in today's world, more than ever. Number 6, Isisupi, sacrifice. So in order to achieve something, you have to sacrifice and work hard. You look at the red flag of the Lakota, it was the sacrifice of their brave men and women for what they did and what they put themselves through, that the Lakota are still standing today. They're still there, honoring their traditions and their lands and their cultures. Yes, maybe the battle might not be won for them, but at least they're still standing. And the Great Spirit is a testament to that, or the plan of the Grand Architect of the universe, you could say, that no matter who or what stands against you, as long as you put faith in the higher power, no one can defeat you. Number 7, Wawikake, truth. Always stand for the truth, even if it means you have to stand alone. Most of the times, my brothers and sisters listening to this, I will tell you that most people fear speaking the truth, and they'll give you the excuse of being the silent majority. They'll say, oh, we're the silent majority, but you're complicit. If you don't speak up, you're complicit, because this life is an illusion and people are too scared. They're holding on to their titles and egos and positions, knowing that if I say something to get under somebody's skin, then I will lose everything. I've been in those positions. I always spoke the truth no matter what. And as a Mason and as an indigenous person, I always put my faith in God and in the Great Spirit. And whatever I lost, I got it back times 10. So as a testament, you will get tested in this life to see, will you hold on to the illusion of this life, or are you putting your faith in the greater plan? As all of these different groups are teaching us the same similar teaching. And if you pass the test, then you will be rewarded. From whatever you lost will be returned to you in unimaginable multiplications. So as we move on to number 8, Wansilapi, compassion. Have compassion for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones, all living beings around you. We have this concept that those people that look down upon animals and they hurt animals, or they hurt each other, they abuse each other, they bully each other. Why do we have a world full of pain and trauma? Why is that? I always felt that there was something wrong with this world growing up. I always felt Mother Earth and the aspect of what I learned from my Islamic culture when I did my genetic test and connected with the indigenous peoples, and my path with Freemasonry. So wherever my path took me, it was compassion. I remember when I first came to this country at the age of 5, and our neighbors in Ohio at the time where I was living in were Native Americans, and they would always show me compassion. I didn't know a word of English, but they would always look out for me because we lived on a busy street, make sure that I was clear crossing the street, no cars were coming, and it was always compassion. We need that in today's world. And they showed me compassion, and all these years later, I'm still remembering them and honoring them. So that one moment of compassion and kindness you showed somebody, whether through the indigenous life or Masonic life, you don't know. They will remember you for the rest of their life. And that will be your attribute and a feather in your cap in the eyes of the Grand Architect of the universe, or the Great Spirit. Number 9, Wuhitiki, bravery. Always be brave, and know that as long as you stand in your truth, no power of this world can defeat you. And we see that, the perseverance of not just the Lakotas, but anyone who was always the underdog or the minority, when they put their faith in the higher power and surrender, because we have the aspect of the ego, we continue to resist, not knowing that who are we at the end of the day? I could go to sleep right now and not wake up. Who am I? I'm bragging about being this and that, and I know these people, I know how to do this, but who am I at the end? We need to be brave and stand in our truth. Moving on to number 10, Kantewasake, fortitude. Have that fortitude to stand for the truth always, for yourself, for your loved ones, and for your family. Number 11, Kantayuke, generosity. As part of the Masonic teachings as well, is to be charitable. Help those that cannot help themselves and not expect anything in return. That is the aspect of the generous individual and one who's connected with the higher power. So always be generous in your dealings, and that will be given back to you when you least expect it. Number 12, Voksape, wisdom. The goal of the Mason is to seek wisdom, and the goal of the Lakota is also to seek wisdom. So 2 paths, 1 destination. So generosity, being charitable, wisdom, standing up against evil, seeking justice, are all of these qualities that I enjoyed learning about the Lakota, that I found in comparison to the Masonic path and also to the other paths that I covered, that every core teaching is teaching you the same thing. This is a beautiful chart I was able to cover from the Lakota teachings, which teaches us to always be mindful of our thoughts, emotions, and reactions. From the top of the chart, we see mind, decisions. Our values influence our decisions. Spirit, values. Our emotions influence our values. Emotions, reactions. Body actions. Our actions influence our emotions, and our decisions lead to actions. So ultimately, when the man is on the aspect of self-improvement and to connect with God or the Great Spirit, whether it's the Freemason or the Lakota Indigenous person or anyone who's on that path, knows that the same core teachings apply anywhere, is that you have to control your thoughts. And your growth is ultimately determined on how you react to things, emotionally, rationally, logically. Logic also being one of the arts that the Mason is supposed to study. And to know that you have to be of a sound mind and sound judgment. And anytime I heard the Lakota speak and their elders speak, very calm, soft-spoken, humble, even though the issues in front of them could have been monstrous, but they kept their cool. Why? Because they knew the Great Spirit, or what is written for you, cannot be taken from you. You could be dealing with elements that are beyond your comprehension, but what is meant for you cannot be taken from you. That is the promise of the Great Spirit and the Grand Architect of the universe, one and the same, to those that follow that path and surrender and put their trust in a higher power, to know that we will always be provided for. Yes, there might be challenges, but if we keep our cool and not react emotionally or in any other way or in anger, then we will live to see another day, and with success too. And we realize this, that those decisions that we take, or thoughts, speech, and actions that we take while in anger and in emotion, later on when we realize, man, I shouldn't have said that, or maybe I could have done something better. And on the aspect of the improvement, you have to realize that you always have to think better, know better, and do better. And every day is a chance for you to smooth out your rough ashlar, as the Mason learns in his path, to chip away at all your imperfections until you become that perfect being in union with divinity. That is our purpose. And always you have to be mindful that this world is out there to divide and destroy the human family, where they're telling you to hate Muslims, and they're telling you to hate Asians, then tomorrow it will be somebody else, and the next day it will be somebody else. And know that the agents of chaos, who are there to divide and destroy the human family, exist in all races, religions, groups, and countries of the world. There's that inner battle of darkness and light that's going on in all elements and groups of the world. So you have to stand for the light and always keep your cool in moments when somebody's trying to get a reaction out of you. And once you don't feed that beast anymore, then that beast won't grow and it will go away. And that's what we're learning here from the Lakota teachings. Here we have the Lakota medicine wheel. And I really like this picture because of the center, the point within the circle. What the Mason learns as well is that the point within the circle is the Grand Architect of the universe, and everything revolving around of it, such as all forms of life, galaxies, planets, you name it, anything that's out there revolves ultimately back to that creator. And that's the same thing I learned in Taoism, that the Tao is the only reality, that one source of energy, Or in Sufism, Islam, what I follow is that Allah is the only reality. Everything else is an illusion. And the point within the circle can be described as the Great Spirit, that one source of life that we all originate from, or spirit or source that many people like to say. And this is something that I really liked about this picture, about the point within the circle. And they tell you that each direction of your the aspect, you have something to learn from. Like in Freemasonry, you have the double-headed eagle that looks in both east and the west. Why? Because you can have knowledge from the Eastern traditions and values, and there's knowledge that you can find from the Western traditions and values. You can't just be biased and look in one direction to satisfy your ego and something that makes you look good. Take the time to learn from everybody. There's truth in all of these paths and the oneness that revolves around that one point within the circle. So the north, yellow, Z. So this describes like the seasons and what it represents according to that. Yellow, Z, noon, Mikokan, summer, Biokitu, soul, Nagi, adolescence, Tekalake, fortitude, Kantevasake, pipestone, blood of the people, the earth, procreation, wisdom, and health, which represents the bald eagle of North America. The east, which is the oriental eagle, you have the golden eagle, which is Viyohe which is red, Sa, morning, Hinhani, spring, Vetu, spirit, Sikun, childhood, Vakayaja, generosity, Kantayukan, rising sun, seeing the future, understanding, thanksgiving, and wisdom. So how the Mason is supposed to travel to the east to seek wisdom and understanding, that's what we learn from the golden eagle of the Lakota. The west, which is the black eagle, Viyuhepia, black, Sapa, evening, Hatayatu, autumn, Patayatu, body, Taka, adulthood, Tankake, bravery, Wuhiteka, night and darkness, mystery, dreams, introspection, prayer, renewal, purifying water, thunder, contemplation. The south, you have Itokaga, white, Ska, night, Hanyatu, winter, Wanyatu, mind, Tawaki, old age, Honkinsi, wisdom, Woksape, sun at its zenith, snow, innocence, death and rebirth, renewed life and destiny. Iwakob, above being. Kuta, below, earth mother, as above, so below. So you see all of these teachings describing the seasons and the phases of life and the attributes. And you see wisdom, death and rebirth, as above, so below, wisdom, procreation. All of this stuff is one and the same with any spiritual path you look at, with Freemasonry, with Sufism. It's all teaching you to take a little bit of wisdom from each direction and apply that into your life as you become that whole being. And know that in this reality, to be connected with the ultimate reality, which is God, in whatever way you might perceive it, you have to master these elements within you, for you are that physical manifestation here on this earth. Another great aspects of the teachings I found from the Lakota values was this chart as well, to honor all directions of your life. And again, we're dealing with the point within the circle, the Great Spirit or the Grand Architect of the universe, and how this umbrella of the light and this tapestry of different religions, colors, races, paths are all connected to that one source, interpreted in different ways. How we say there's one mountaintop, but many paths leading up to that same mountaintop. If I want to go to New York City, there's 6 ways here from Philadelphia area that I can get to New York City. It doesn't matter which way I take, it's all taking me to the same destination. And that's the beauty that we learn from the Lakota as well, the oneness and teachings of all paths. Starting with the north, white, air, animals, receive energy, mental aspect, wisdom and logic. The east, which is yellow, sun, fire, determined energy, spiritual aspect, illumination and enlightenment. The Mason's supposed to travel to the east. South, red, water, plants, gives energy, emotional aspect, trust and innocence. West, black. Earth, physical, holds energy, physical aspect, introspection, and insight. Center, learning, self, beauty, and harmony. So ultimately, when you combine all of these elementals and the different directions of knowledge throughout the world, ultimately it leads back to yourself. It's your heart. And that's what the Lakota are teaching us, is that if you need answers, know thyself. All these different spiritual paths and religions, they're all telling you to find God, you have to look into your heart, or kingdom of heaven is within, or we're closer to man than his jugular vein. Know thyself and know thy Lord, and know thy purpose. That is the ultimate reality. Once you understand yourself, then you got this. This game called life that you're involved in, you will always win. Through the good and bad times, to know I know who I am, what I stand for, and what I need to do. And I give myself these affirmations every day for my Sufi, Masonic, religious, worldly path, purpose, and mission that the Great Spirit has manifested me on this earth for. As the peacemaker in many native tradition who comes and plants the tree, to know that we're all connected to this tree of life. We're all these different branches, might be different races, religions, or path, but it's all connected to the same root. And we must honor thyself and love thyself in order to better understand the path that we're on. Now I would like to go over the 7 values of Lakota life. Number 1 is Woki'ikia, praying, finding spirituality by communicating with your higher power. This is communication between you and Tukasila without going through another person or spirit. Walhalla, respect for self, higher power, family, community, and all of life. Number 3, Wansila, caring and compassion. Love, caring, and concern for one another in a good way, especially for the family, the old ones, the young ones, the orphans, the ones in mourning, the sick, and the ones working for the people. Number 4, Wawijake, honesty and truth with yourself, higher power, and others with sincerity. Number 5, Wawokie, generosity and helping without expecting anything in return, giving from the heart. Wawala, humility, we have a spirit, we are no better, no less than others. Wawiginage, wisdom, practice with knowledge comes wisdom. And these are all values of the man or woman on the aspect of self-improvement, and how it's one and the same with those on the Masonic path as well. So with number 1, finding the spirituality, is that you communicate with your higher self. And that's ultimately, God's greatest secret is that he's hiding in man's heart. And man is God's greatest secret. You're looking for God in all of these places, trying to find God, trying to understand life, not knowing that the answers are already inside of you. And you keep looking outside when you have to actually look within. It's like when Neo goes to the Oracle in the Matrix movies. She never really answers his questions. She just tells him, you already know what you want to do, and points to the sign behind him which says, know thyself. So ultimately we have to know ourselves. That's where we will find our answers, because at the end we will do what feels right to us anyway. Number 2, which is respect for self. Respect everyone, and that will ultimately be given back to you. Number 3, with the caring of the compassion, how the Mason looks out for the orphans and the widows and those that cannot help themselves. Same thing that the Lakota is following in his or her life, is compassion, to look out for the elders, orphans, young ones, those who are mourning. Help your fellow man, you ultimately help yourself. Number 4 is honesty and truth. Be a man, a woman of high character and high regard, and that will determine your ultimate value. It's not who you are, or there are those that might quote scriptures or go to church every Sunday or pray 5 times a day. I know people like that. Some of them are wicked people. They have the front of being a religious person, but they are not good people. Being a religious person does not determine your honesty and your character. Your character is determined by how you treat yourself and others. That's what God loves. That's what the Great Spirit loves, or the Grand Architect loves. All one and the same. Be an honest and truthful individual with an impeccable character. Number 5, which is generosity. Help those. Be a charitable person without expecting anything in return. And those that help others but brag about it, you basically throw your deeds in the water and you wash it in the eyes of the Great Spirit. So help somebody, and there's a lot of unseen humanity that happens, and I've seen it with my own eyes, where people do help a lot of people and sponsor poor families without putting it on social media or without telling anybody. But that one source of life, who is the ultimate judge and decider in reality, has witnessed you doing those deeds, which is worth any like or share on any social media site or acknowledgement for your ego. Do good unto all, wherever you can, however you can, which is the same for the Mason and the Lakota. Humility. We have a spirit. We are no better than nor less than others. How Masons say that we are on the level. No one's above you or beneath you. If there's somebody younger that you can learn from, sit down and learn from them with humility. If there's somebody older, give them the same respect. No one's above or beneath you, no matter what degrees or titles or acronyms you might have next to your name. Those are things only of this world. I go by the park. There's a park close to where I live. And on one side of the park, you have families that are bonding and creating memories with each other. And on the other side of the street is a cemetery right across the street. And there are people mourning their loved ones. Some with looks of regret on their faces, that maybe they should have spent enough time with them or said something better or did something better. So, because their egos got in the way and they didn't want to be the first person to apologize, but now it's too late for that. So please do the right thing always. And then the 7th one, wisdom. How the Mason is supposed to seek wisdom, so is the Lakota. And with wisdom comes responsibility, that you handle it properly. This is a very special prayer of the Lakota by Chief Yellow Lark in the 1800s, and also will be familiar to the Freemason as well, on this aspect of us surrendering to the higher power and putting our faith in the Great Spirit or the Grand Architect of the universe. O Great Spirit, whose voice I hear in the wind, whose breath gives life to all the world, hear me, I need your strength and wisdom. Let me walk in beauty and make my eyes over behold the red and purple sunset. Make my hands respect the things you have made, and my ears sharp to hear your voice. Make me wise so that I may understand the things you have taught my people. Help me to remain calm and strong in the face of all that comes towards me. Let me learn the lessons you have hidden in every leaf and rock. Help me seek pure thoughts and act with the intention of helping others. Help me find compassion without empathy overwhelming me. I seek strength not to be greater than my brother, but to fight my greatest enemy, myself, my fears and my doubts. Make me always ready to come to you with clean hands and straight eyes, so when life fades as the fading sunset, my spirit may come to you without shame. And that is the greatest gift that the Lakota can follow or the Freemason can follow, is whatever is said here by Chief Yellow Clark. Follow it. Follow it to the best of your heart's ability, and you will see how every blessing and love and light in your life will come to you when you just surrender to the divine and ask the divine that, I know this life is short, and please put it in my heart to always do the right thing, so whenever my call does come to come face you, I can face you without any shame or guilt, knowing that I did not do anybody wrong, and I loved everybody. I loved my brotherhood. I loved my fraternity. I loved my tribe. I loved all those that came before me, and I helped them without any guilt. We need to do that. We need to do the right thing always. And this is the greatest lesson for the Freemason or the Lakota or anyone on the path. At the center of the universe dwells the Great Spirit, and that center is really everywhere. It is within each of us, from Chief Black Elk of the Lakota Nation. This really touched my heart, as this will be the last slide that I cover. And I know that with the point within the circle, how we say that everything revolves around the Grand Architect of the universe or the Great Spirit. And you have an umbrella, And an umbrella, you have the different tapestries and colors and patterns all connected to that same source. And if the entire world was the same, maybe it would have been a boring place. But we have these different tapestries and colors and patterns to be celebrated by just leaders and just-minded men and women, and those that are there to lead us and guide us and help our brotherhoods and fraternities and tribal nations, to help us in our fallen state of mankind, to ultimately lead back to that one source. What is the greatest reality of life? For you to live in a nice neighborhood, have $1 million in your bank account, have a nice spouse, live in a nice zip code. What is it that you really need? Or what is it that society expects from you when the first thing they ask you is, what do you do for a living? And judge you by your personal appearance to base what kind of respect that they want to give you. What is it? What are we here for? We're here to touch each other's heart like the Freemason does, to build relationships with each other, make memories, and touch the hearts of all those who come before you. What good did you do for yourself and others with the short time that was given to you? That is the ultimate reality. Nothing more, nothing less. There are those that have money and resources and power, but some of them are cursed because they did unspeakable things to get to where they were, and they're not happy. And there's other people that I know that might have barely nothing to their name, and they barely have enough food to eat every day, but they're always thankful, and they're at peace. They could go to sleep at night knowing they didn't hurt anybody or did not do anybody wrong. That is the rich person. That is the one who will see the reality for what it is in this realm and the next life. And that's what we can learn from Chief Black Elk, is that no matter what religion, country, path you follow, each one of its core teachings, if we're all connected to the same source, they're all teaching you to do the right thing, be a good person, and always be a man or a woman of good character in the faces of good times and bad times, to ultimately leave your mark in the world as Mother Earth and us being her children, to leave a better world behind. And that's pretty much it. And this really touched my heart, and I'm thankful to the Lakota people for their contributions to the world. Thank you for watching. If any questions or comments, please email me at salmonshake911@gmail.com. I hope you were able to take something away from this, and it was my honor and privilege to teach the world of these beautiful people known as the Lakotas. And I hope one day my journey takes me to North and South Dakota so I can witness their greatness in front of my own eyes, not just to honor them, but to honor my indigenous ancestors who always walk with me with the path I have chosen. All images used were retrieved from public domain searches and are the rightful property of their respective owners. The images used in this video are for the purpose of nonprofit awareness and education, which is protected by the copyright laws of fair use education purpose. All my videos are for nonprofit and education purposes. All opinions expressed are my own under free speech and do not represent any tribe, organization, or individuals. Thank you for your time. My love to all of you and your families, and wish you all a great month of April ahead. Always do the right thing and be honorable, as we learn from our Lakota brothers and sisters. Thank you. All rights reserved.